Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing great today. This is Valencia Flyer coming at you. All right, we've made it. It's been 2 years, 2 years since I've been on the line as a full-time flight attendant with a U.S. major airline. So how did I get here? What has been my experience and what's going to be in year 3? Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. Here we go. Hey there, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is Valencia Flyer. We talk about all things on how to become a flight attendant, what it is to be a flight attendant, money, bases, all that sort of stuff. So if you're looking for that kind of information, you have come to the right place. Consider subscribing to the channel for more episodes. If you are coming back, welcome back. It's great to see you again. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the topic. We have arrived to our 2-year anniversary as a full-time flight attendant for a U.S. major airline. I can't believe it's happened. It's come pretty quick if you really consider it. So let's go ahead and talk about everything that there is to talk about to bring us up to what we've come to today. All right, as I'm making this recording, here we are in July of 2025. I first got on the line, first got hired with this U.S. major airline way back in July of 2023. Finished my training and everything and actually got on the line for August of 2023. But technically I have been with the company now just a little bit over 2 years, which, you know, that's the way they do it. That's my anniversary is July 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So once July 10th hit of this year, officially 2 years. So it's been really cool. So how did I get into this? Well, really quickly, I was working at a restaurant doing the starving artist thing. You know, I'm a musician as well as an artist. You know, the typical, you know, starving artist thing and everything like that. And I was working at a restaurant. They weren't giving me enough hours. So I thought, you know, the airport's not too far away from here. So maybe I can just throw some bags on a plane and do it. While I was doing that, I discovered that they were actually hiring for flight attendants. And I thought, all right, what's this all about? Looked it up and saw the description. And I'm like, you know, that's totally right up my alley. I should have done this 20 years ago. Let's go for it. So I went for it and I sent in my application in April of 2023. And lo and behold, I was actually on the line in August of 2023. So considering everything with this specific airline, that's pretty fast, you know? So I came in a year of 2023 when they were hiring a lot of flight attendants. I think they hired around 4,500 that year of 2023, which is the most they've ever hired before and since. So I came in when the door was wide open, lucky me, and it went really quick, and that's how it all came to be. Now, when I got on the line, it was a bit of a culture shock, let me tell you. It is a very different lifestyle than your typical 9 to 5, than your typical, you know, going into the office sort of a situation. This is a completely different lifestyle, and especially if you're a commuter, that is even a more difficult and more different lifestyle. When I first got on the line, I first got on in Detroit for a couple months, then transferred over to Seattle, and I was there for a little over a year. And in January of 2025, I actually finally made it to my home base where I live, which is Portland, Oregon. So I'm now a Portland-based flight attendant. And for such a senior base at the time, for me only working with the company for a year and a half, and I was able to get into that senior base, that was awesome. That is extremely fast. And I was so happy because that meant that I no longer had to commute. If you're not familiar with commuting, real quick, basically you leave your house, go to the airport, you commute and fly to your home base, which could be, let's say, New York or LA or Salt Lake City. And then once you get there, that's when your work begins. You do your trip, you finish it, you finish in your home base, and you still have to commute all the way back home to wherever you live. So commuting, they say, is almost like a second job. And I've done it, and yeah, it kind of is. You know, not only is it kind of a second job, but it is also a situation where you're spending probably a little bit more money than you really want to, because sometimes you have to get a hotel in order to, you know, not have to sleep on the airport floor. You need a little extra food to keep you going. So you do have to pay a little bit of extra money when you are a commuter. So luckily in January, that all ended for me, and I finally became a non-commuting flight attendant, which was an incredibly awesome thing. So let's talk about the bases. The bases for my particular company, we have probably around, I'd say around 10, 11, 12 scattered throughout the US, including Hawaii, which I think there's one in Honolulu. I've already mentioned Seattle. We have San Francisco, Los Angeles, Salt Lake City. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Minneapolis, Detroit, Boston, New York. I think we have one in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, another one in Tampa, which is a smaller one. Just like Portland, it was also a smaller one. What am I missing? Atlanta, of course. Atlanta is our biggest one. That's our headquarters. That's the biggest base that we have. I think we also have don't quote me on this one, but I think we have a Raleigh-Durham one. And then we also have a Dallas-Fort Worth, which are both of the smaller ones. They're one of the newer ones. Spoiler, where I hear through the grapevine that we're going to be adding one in Austin, Texas. Don't know if that's just a rumor, nothing official, but that's what I'm hearing through the grapevine. So that's a collection of the bases that we have here in the United States. I think I already mentioned Honolulu. So some are more senior, some are more junior. What do I mean by senior and junior? Basically, the bigger ones, like let's say Atlanta, might have maybe around 4,000 flight attendants. That's pretty big compared to, let's say, mine, which is pretty small. We have about 110 flight attendants in Portland. So you can see where the difference is. Seattle, I think when I last left it was around 17 or 1,800 flight attendants. So it really varies on what base that you're actually in. So that will kind of determine whether it's a senior one, a junior one. There's a little leeway in there, so don't quote me on every one, but I just go by the numbers when it comes to that. So that's a little primer on what the bases are that we have in the United States. Our trips are actually very cool, depending on whether your base is an international flying base or if it's just domestic. For example, in Portland, we only do domestic. We did have an Amsterdam that we got rid of in October of 2024, and now we're only domestic. So that's all we fly is domestic, versus just a few hours north of us in Seattle, that is an international base. Seattle might go to, let's see, we'll probably go to Incheon. I think they also go to Shanghai, perhaps. We'll go to Amsterdam. I think they're going to be adding Barcelona and Rome probably sometime next year. So that's more international base. So depending on what kind of flying that you want to do, depending on what kind of turns you on or doesn't turn you on, you'll want to pick your bases appropriately, right? When you're getting on the line, if that is something you want to do, they give you a choice of what bases are open when you're coming into training. So you kind of already know what base you're going to go to when training is over, and you'll find yourself in that base, sort of a thing. But again, that's just a little bit of an overview of the bases and the trips. So far, my trips have been really, really good. I have done some international. I think I've done Amsterdam a few times. I've done London. I've done Zurich. And I have done Incheon, South Korea, which is awesome. They're all awesome. But for the most part nowadays, I just fly domestic. And I gotta say, they're two different animals. Some people really like the international. Some people are more about the domestic. I'm somewhere in the middle, but now because I've gotten a little bit more comfortable where I am, and now I'm no longer a commuting flight attendant, I kind of stick only to the domestic. I could, if I wanted to, pick up an international flight or a trip from another base. But to be honest, like I said, things have been nice and comfortable, and I'm spending a little bit more time at home. So I'm just kind of keeping it simple for now and just really doing domestic. But again, depending on what you like, you pick your poison. All right, so let's talk about money. All right, so when I first got on the line, and if you look through some of my videos, I talk a lot more in depth of how much money a flight attendant can make, especially a flight attendant coming on the line. I'll go ahead and click over here for you. That's a pretty detailed episode right there on how much money that I actually did make. So overall though, I got on the line making approximately around $33, $34 for a flight hour. Now, after 2 years, I'm probably in the realm of about $41 to $42 for that same flight hour after 2 years. Not bad. Nothing to complain about. I'm actually very, very happy about that. There are other ways that I'm able to make a little bit more money if I were to do flight lead. There's a couple, a few more dollars added on there. If I do an international, and that international can even be a Hawaii or an Alaska, we consider those international as far as our pay is concerned, or really going to another country, you'll get a little bit more there too. So there's a lot of little ways that you can add to the pay, which is great. So once you're on the line, you kind of figure how to kind of tweak that to your, to your liking, to see how much money you want to make or you don't want to make. It's a very, very customizable and very, very flexible job that you could have. It's very easy after, let's say, about 2 years, maybe 3, but it's very easy to, because you've moved up in seniority, right? It's very easy to customize how much time you want to work or you don't. Some people even have side businesses or side hustles, or they just stay home and want to stay home with the kids and raise the family. So there is a lot of flexibility, which is one of the big pluses about this job and this industry, and more specifically, this company. I know that not all airlines are built the same within the United States. Some have bigger perks, some have not as big perks. Some are more flexible, some are not as flexible. I'm very happy with my company because, in my opinion, it is pretty flexible. So that is something really that I really like. But anyway, so the money has actually been good and it is building. As I've said in previous videos, the longer you stay in this job, the more money you make, and that has certainly become the truth. So that has been really good. So let's talk about flight attendants. Flight attendants are awesome. Flight attendants are interesting. Flight attendants are so varied and come from so many different places and experiences. You can have someone that's young coming out of college that goes right straight to the line, and they probably make this job a lifetime job. I mean, we have a lady, and I always talk about her, but our #1 flight attendant's been on the line for 65, 66 years and is still active, okay? Someone that just came on when they were 21 years old and go from there. So there's all walks of life. There are people here that have been making this their third, their fourth, career or second career or whatever like that in their life. So there's so much variety from where people come from all walks of life. So it's really cool. It's very interesting. So if you're a people person, which I recommend that you should be if you're in this kind of work, then you're probably really gonna like it because there's so much variety. And I'm not even talking about the passengers. I'm just talking about the people that you work with as a flight attendant, right? So that has been really cool. I have been lucky that I have not been really dealing with a lot of crazy situations. There was one that happened within a few months of me being on the line. And if you haven't seen that episode, I'll go ahead and link it up here. This was a little bit of a crazy situation, but that has really been the only major thing that I have experienced on my end. I know if you go to Instagram stories or TikTok or whatever you do, you see a lot of crazy things that people record on their phones. And unfortunately, yeah, that can happen, unfortunately. But luckily for me, it hasn't really been. I guess I've just been lucky and I haven't, had to deal with any of that. Hopefully my luck will uphold. If not, if something does happen, then we try to treat the situation with the utmost delicacy, being very delicate and being very professional and hopefully very kind to whoever is dealing with the situation, and we get through it. Either way, we stay pros and we get through it. But luckily, nothing has been too crazy. And again, coming back to what airline that I work for, I've been very happy with them. No company is perfect in the world. There's always pluses and minuses, right? But for me, from my experience and the world that I've come in and my work experience throughout my life, this company has been I would say that they've been very generous. They're very flexible, and I believe that they're very fair. So that to me has been very good. And for that, I very much appreciate my company and my airline. And yeah, so that has basically been, in a nutshell, what my experience has been these last 2 years. Okay, so let's talk about what are we going to look forward to? What are we looking forward to in year 3? All right, so there's 3 main things that I'm looking forward to for the upcoming year. Number 1 is going to be, you know, I have to non-rev a little bit more. What's non-rev? Non-revenue, which basically is a fancy word for when we get to travel basically for free on our own personal time, not working time, but on our own personal time. If I wanted to go on vacation or I wanted to go a few days out of the country to go see wherever, right? So far, I've only non-revved a couple times. I know it sounds crazy, but in my 2 years, I've only non-revved once to Cancun and once to Mexico City, okay? Now, that's even though I went to Zurich, I don't count that as non-revving because in Zurich, I was working. I was on a layover, right? So that does not count, okay? Also, what I don't count is going back home to Los Angeles to see my father, to see my kids, to see the family. I don't really call that non-revving. And I'm just kind of visiting the family, which is only like a couple-hour flight from where I live. So I don't include that. So non-revving vacation time, personal vacation time, I've only gone to Cancun and to Mexico City. So in year 3, I definitely have to travel more. I have to see the world on my own personal time. What are my top places that I want to see right now? Tokyo. Tokyo is number 1. Every one of my flight attendants say that Tokyo is the best. They're a great place to visit, great food. It's not super expensive. It's super interesting. It's super clean. So I hear nothing but wonderful things about Tokyo. I have yet to go, but that is definitely on my list. Number 2, I would love to go see the pyramids of Giza. That has been a lifelong dream of mine. So hopefully I'll be able to do that very soon. Next, Reykjavik, Iceland. I've always wanted to check out there. I think we do fly there during the summer. So hopefully I'll be able to do that before the summer is out. Next, Lisbon, Portugal. Also, I hear wonderful things about Lisbon, and that is definitely someplace that I want to go check out. And last on my list for this coming year is going to be Madrid, Spain. I have been to Barcelona. I fell in love with it, but I definitely want to check out Madrid and maybe even go a little further north into Bilbao or also San Sebastian area up in the north of Spain, but definitely want to hit up Madrid and check that out personally. So those are my 5 things that I definitely want to look forward to into just getting to know. Now, do I have to non-rev those? No, not necessarily, but I probably want to just spend an extra day or 2 looking around and not having to worry about meeting the shuttle to get back to the airport so I can get back to work, right? So definitely I would like to do that on my personal time. Now, next thing, number 2 that I'm looking forward to is because I have gotten my bumps in pay and I am making more money per flight hour now, theoretically, I could work a little less hours and maintain the income that I've come into, right? That I'm making. I'm sure every once in a while I might want to do that to kick back, because one thing about this job is that it does wear and tear a little bit on the body. You know, there's a lot of up and down. There's the air pressure. There's the changing of time zones, especially if you're doing international. So you put all that sort of stuff together. You're walking up, you know, walking everywhere. You're putting in your 15,000 steps per day or whatever. It does wear and tear on the body. And because it does, you know, you get pretty tired. You know what I mean? So sometimes maybe thinking about every once in a while pulling back on my flight hours just so I don't wear myself down to the ground, right? So that is something I definitely am considering. And the third thing that I'm looking into for this coming year is still considering becoming a pilot. I'm still looking into that. Rules have changed a little bit though since I first came on the line 2 years ago. There are programs that turn me into a flight attendant, into a pilot, but because these rules have changed, the game's not exactly the same. So that unfortunately has been looking a little less attractive to me. So I have to kind of really investigate that a little bit more to see if it's going to be worth it in the end for myself and the family. So that's one thing that I can do. Second thing I can do is become a purser. Now, what is a purser? A purser is basically a flight leader, but international, okay? I like flying flight lead domestic, right? But a flight lead for international is known as a purser. There is a training program that I will have to go through on that, so that is something I'm definitely looking into. And there's number 3. I'm also considering becoming a trainer for initial training. So what is that? So when new people get hired for becoming a flight attendant, you have to go into a training program. Mine was 6 weeks long. I think they've upped it to 7 nowadays here with my company. But when you get into training, you typically have 2 main instructors that take care of your initial class. So that is what I'm considering, becoming one of those types of instructors to teach new people coming in to become flight attendants. I do love to teach, which is one of the reasons I have this channel, but it is something that I'm really looking into as well. So those are the 3 things, either becoming a purser, a pilot, or even a trainer, and looking into that going into year number 3. All right, so let's go ahead and put it all together now. So in summary, the first 2 years here at my airline have actually been pretty good. I have very, very little to complain about. Again, the only small complaints, the wear and tear, that does happen. You get really tired. And then also, if you're a commuter, you're spending a lot of time away from home. Luckily, I'm no longer a commuter, but I was for the first year and a half being a flight attendant, being on the line. But now those days are behind me. I'm very lucky, so I don't have to worry about that as much. But other than that, guys, I gotta say, this job is pretty awesome. It's pretty stellar. There are tons of benefits, not just for myself, but for the family. Again, the longer you stay in this, the more money you make, which is fantastic. You get to kind of travel and see the world. You get to stay in some pretty nice hotels like what I'm in right now. You get to hang out with some friends. If you have a smaller base, you make some really good close friends, tight camaraderies, and you guys get to hang out. So it's actually a really, really cool thing. You even get to meet some celebrities every once in a while. I know that I've met my handful of celebrities on the planes, and it's been actually pretty cool. So there are really a lot of benefits to this job. If it is something you're considering, I would definitely look into it. I really, really would. A lot of people that come into this don't leave. There are some that leave, but most, I would have to say that 85% of the people that come into this job never leave. Some leave, and then the funny thing is they discover that they missed it, or that how good they had it, and they end up coming back, you know? So overall, at the end of the day, it's actually a pretty good job, you know? Again, if you really like people, that should be pretty easy for you. If you're not much of a people person, this could probably be a little bit more difficult for you. If you like to travel, obviously this is a great job. If you don't like being away from home too much, then again, this might not be the job for you. So you really have to take into consideration what your lifestyle is now and accepting the new lifestyle of what it is to become a flight attendant. Because it is a pretty funky lifestyle. It's very different than what anyone's really used to. It's not a 9-to-5, but at the same time, there's a lot of flexibility. So, you know, just food for thought if you guys are looking into this. All right, and there you have it. So for those of you who have just come on the line, I'm gonna say maybe about 6 months and under, I have a great video for you. I have created the top 10 tips for new flight attendants. You're gonna find that right over here. And if you're not a flight attendant but wanna watch them anyway to give you a little bit more insight of what this job really entails, that would be a great video to watch as well. Guys, thank you very much. Happy 2-year anniversary to me. Thank you for watching this video. It's been great. I'm very much looking forward to for the next 2 years, 4 years, etc., etc. I've been very lucky, I gotta say, very, very lucky. And I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity to be a flight attendant. So it's been great, guys. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for being here with me on my 2-year anniversary. It's been great having you. I hope you got a lot of good information on this video and the rest of the videos on my channel. Make sure to check those out. Consider subscribing. Put a thumb up if this has been of useful content to you. And I love reading the comments below. So please have any questions or any stories or any comments. We'd all love to learn from them and your experiences down in the comments. Guys, this is Valencia Flyer. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.